is, but maybe my head
no
canon.
idea. I'd have to look at like the specific stats on like, you know.
Oh, 8 ping versus 70 ping is tough.
I have to see what server it is. I'm pretty sure I set myself as spectator, so that shouldn't have taken me into account too much, hopefully.
No, sometimes it just does that.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping, like, in the future, I don't know how feasible this is, but obviously, you know, they're still implementing and fixing things every beta, so hopefully in the future we can just straight up pick our server from the
Well, you could in the last one.
Yeah, but I even mean from, like, the character select screen, not just from the lobby screen. That would be, like, that's, like, my dream. Like, please, if that's at all possible, I really hope it's in the at least the final release. But anyway, Godai Delta once again. I noticed, I mentioned earlier that Proto may not be a stage kid once. He has been banning that consistently. So it seems like I was right on the money on that one. And I think Godai is potentially the most, like, not to say best stage, oh my god.
So funny every time it works.
Yeah.
That just feels like such an overtuned move on a character that like isn't really, so it's almost jarring to see it come out.
Yeah. What I was gonna say before the fleet there so really interrupted me is I feel like Godai might be like the most balanced stage in the game in terms of like every character likes it a pretty equal amount, relatively speaking.
Yeah. It's typically what I like lean towards. I feel like it's got that kind of PS2 layout that everyone's at least a little bit comfortable
without being as big as PS2 in a lot of its like inspirations. Oh.
A little bit of a miss on the up B. We've seen that happen to Ben a couple of times. I wonder if it's a controller thing, potentially, because it has happened 2 or 3 times even just since this top 8 started. Oh, the conversion of the down B off the ledge into the back air. Really nice stuff coming out from Kib, and Ben learning the hard way what it's like to play against this guy. Who put Kib in losers?
Let me go check back real quick when you commentate normally. Because Kib did actually come in the top 16 through loser side, so...
That's crazy, he lost early.
It was Taco Cat.
Oh, it was Taco Cat.
Kib got the run back in the quarters, so...
I see, cool. So the run back and the Kragg gauntlet, honestly not so bad. I feel like, despite Leaf being a character I consider to be less strong, I feel like them having a good matchup into Kragg is probably a nice spot to be in.
Yeah.
Even in terms of a character that's maybe not as good.
It is kind of funny seeing like the one true air character rep in this bracket go like totally ham and just destroying all of the air characters, conquering her polar opposite.
Make it make sense.
But yeah, back air coming out.
That should do it.
Just like that. Kib once again taking game 1. You know, what was looking like a bit of a Kragg paradise earlier, might just be the kind of hunting grounds that Fleet wants right now.
Kragg's on red alert right now.
Exactly.
The anti-meta character we've been waiting for. She's bad against everyone but Kragg.
Honestly.
I got a question though. Why do the bubbles on this skin look like dirty? Like they're like greeny brown.
I actually haven't really noticed that, but now you're going to be making me pay attention to this. So I'll bring it up when I notice it. Also, NL with another Rano in the previous slot, now we're seeing this out.
Yeah, that's interesting. The matchup felt tough enough to go to the Zetterburn. I do think Zetterburn wins this matchup.
I can see it.
But sorry, go ahead.
Zetter broadly does well against air characters, at least in the first game, where his relatively high vertical power lets him absolutely destroy all of them, and just having a co-power in general. Because air characters are all glass cannons, like that's the big trait that tends to define a lot of them. It's that, and then they have some kind of tricky air movement. And that said, Ben is losing the first stock right here, so could have been a good time for me to show that in action, but him just looking to be so consistent and so on point with everything he wants from the fleet. Okay, I see what you mean about the dirty bubble.
Yeah, it's dirty.
No, that's a very... I think the bubbles might change with the skin, but that's definitely a weird choice for like the default version of this.
Yeah, I was like, I thought this was the default color.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, it is.
I like this matchup, but you really do have to play it in a pretty particular way. Just because, you know, typically you would lean on side B a little bit if the character was zoning you. And that works to a degree, especially against complete side B because it'll actually cancel the arrow most of the time.
Right, right.
So you're able to lean on side B a little bit to try and get yourself into positions where you can just parry the tornado and then go from there. It is definitely harder to lean on shine though. So if that's like where your fundamentals really lie and that's where you're really good is just like in the shine pressure, you don't get as many opportunities to do that. You do have to play a lot more of like that neutral game.
Yeah, like, oh my god, that's accurate. Yeah, the recovery here seems terrible for Zetter. I can imagine that being a big pain point of the matchup. It's just that down air is going to eat you alive if you're not prepared.
Yeah, and Kib has been so good off stage to the point where like I don't even know if it's a fleet thing or just Kib feels really comfortable off stage in general. I would like to see some more mix-ups on the side of Ben L. I feel like this is not his main, and so some of the comfort in the mix-ups is not going to be there. But saving your jump and using like the canceled version of down B, even if you take a hit, can sometimes put you in a better position. I find with heavy, one with heavies and two with characters with a bad recovery, you have to think about how can I live as opposed to how can I not get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if you force Kib to hit you in a position that still lets you get back, it's worth taking that hit as opposed to just eating a tricky edge guard.
For sure, just kind of like the long-term game plan when it comes to your survivability. It is absolutely something that comes into play a lot in Rivals. Air Armada for game number 3. Now, I'm kind of liking this pick. I'm feeling it a little bit.
Yeah?
It's going to be interesting because, I do think that Kragg is better recovering here than most characters. At the same time, it's still a really scary stage to get left on because you can't really do the same low recoveries on Air Armada as you can on other stages.
Yeah, I feel like one of the only stages you can get pineappled on, like, actively.
Yeah, I mean, it just straight up is. Like, that's always been a big part of its identity. Said it's unique platform structure, and being one of the only stages in the game with moving platforms can definitely give some variety to that as well.
Yeah. I feel like the platforms are quite high up as well. Like, you definitely have to full hop to get to the platforms. They're not quite as low as some of the other platforms. So it also creates a little bit of a different situations where some characters can play around them easier than others, and sometimes pack situations are different because of how high the platforms are. Kib racking up a ton of damage early and just committing to that nair. Such a good call out. Ben almost a little bit kind of stunned off stage as to what to do because Kib is able to put so many options on the board and the platform actually saving him from the rock.
Yeah, and I mean, what's Kragg gonna do right there, right? Because Fleet's just hovering there. Like, if you try to throw out a move to hit her, it's gonna be really hard to get your pillar out. If you pillar, he's just gonna go in near you. That float is threatening a lot of options right now that Ben's just not quite prepared to deal with. And I'm not even sure what the answer is, to be perfectly honest. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen two Kraggs attempt it so far. Neither really had a solid answer. And unless he's able to find it quite quickly, we're about to see one more third attempt at it.
Air coming out, controlling a bit of that space in the
so
there.
Good. And you just spam it as the platform goes down. What does he do?
Yeah. Huh. I think maybe gotta like tech the second one, I guess? I don't know though. That's
the problem
tough.
is you can't even see it. Really interesting situation that Ben's been able to set up there. Able to catch the roll in there with the forward smash as well. Good awareness on how to adjust the spacing from the game we saw with Grayson. The fair is going to do it at a disadvantage, but it almost feels a little too late as he's already at 112 or 122%, sorry, and trying desperately to get back into this game.
We're seeing a lot of backers come out. Ben trying to just find these more simple openings he knows are going to work, but there is so much ground that needs to be covered, and that simple nair, even the weak hit, is going to be enough to seal the deal.
I really like that, and you might not have noticed because of how quickly it happened, but what Kib actually did there was floated just in front of and underneath Ben, so he wasn't able to get hit with something like a down air or a rising forward air, and threw out a